Hey guys, my name is Ace, and welcome to Untethered, a place where I post guided messages, meditations, etc. The message I have for you today is not going to be really comforting, if that makes sense. I always like to start off by saying that I don't like giving general messages and something that's logical, like for example, if you breathe air, then this message is for you. And I feel like there's a lot of that in spiritual and, let's call it, channeling community, but I just am not a big fan of that. I don't know, I just always feel like I have a need to mention that. But anyway, the message I have for today definitely isn't beautiful, it isn't love and light. It's more of like a wake-up call and shattering the illusion. So I would like to start off by giving you an example. There's this, I'm pretty sure it's like a meme or a joke, whatever you want to call that, on social media that I saw like long time ago. It was like a text saying spirituality beginner, and then like there's a bunch of photos of like crystals and like incense and meditating, and then there was other part which was saying spirituality advanced, and it was like girl smoking a cigarette. And basically the meaning of this is that, like when you're a beginner in spirituality and spiritual community, you tend to focus more on surface level things and aesthetic of spirituality and all those nice things like collecting crystals and lighting a candle and just meditating, love and light basically. But then spirituality in reality is much more than that. It's, going inwards and experiencing a lot of shadows and needing to heal those shadows and, heal old patterns and wounds and etc. etc. So I feel like that's the main, anchor point of today's message. I would say that most of the time people do focus on those like surface level things, like, collecting crystals and thinking that they are spiritual because they collect crystals, which, listen, there's nothing wrong with it. And if that's your take on spirituality, that's absolutely okay. But it also like stops you from growing in a way, because there's so much more to it. And you have two options to, focus on those like surface level things, like, again, collecting okay, why do I mention collecting crystals so much? That could be significant, and I will talk about that in a minute. But yeah, you could focus on those like surface level things and be comfortable, or choose to be uncomfortable and uneasy, but feel so much more free at the end. And this could be by, like I already said, healing old wounds and meeting your shadows and just like facing your fears. Because in my opinion, spirituality is all about like freeing yourself and, becoming the best version of yourself, but by doing the work and not just by like running away from the work that you need to do. And I do believe that all of us have at least a little bit of work that we need to do. So, like I said, the main point of this message is shattering the illusion. And what I wanted to say is that I don't necessarily think that you were one of those people, who were just like looking at surface level things. I believe that you immediately went deeply into spirituality as a spectrum. Like, you probably started being, let's say, spiritual by going inwards, and it was probably a result of you going through something and experiencing hardships, and therefore you, like, it was almost like it was an inevitable thing that you were about to step into your power and learn about spirituality and all these different concepts. I believe that there's something called dark night of the soul or something like that. I'll be honest, I'm not necessarily like obsessed with those like spiritual terms, but I do like that term. I just had to stop for like a minute because my head just went blank, and it could be significant that you're experiencing a lot of energy loss. Perhaps you have trouble sleeping at night, or you just feel restless. And what I'm sensing is that, like, in the past, it could be that that was the result of your unhealthy habits or something. But in this phase of your life, the spirit is saying that you're not doing anything wrong. It's just that this is the time of your life where it's like you're preparing for something and you need to rest. And again, this kind of sounded like a cliche. Usually people in spiritual communities say this, like, yes, something big is coming and you need to rest. And listen, I believe that you should always be positive and like look forward to good things happening, which they absolutely will. But I just believe that, it's not always the case. But right now, I do believe that that is the truth. So, no, you're not doing anything wrong. That's just the way this season of your life is supposed to go. It's how it's supposed to go. So I mentioned you feeling restless because maybe you have trouble sleeping at night, which leads us to second part of this message. Having nightmares could be significant, and that's interesting because nightmares are not something that you usually experience. Like, usually dreams are there to like show you something. But nightmares, it feels like, are useless. Like, you just experience them from time to time and like, that's all. Like, you don't see a bigger picture. However, that's the perspective shift you should make. Just like in day-to-day life, we sometimes tend to think that like, oh, I'm only receiving signs if I see angel numbers or butterflies or, something positive. We also tend to think that only positive dreams are like meant to be a message. But what Spirit is saying is that there's a lot of wisdom in moments that aren't so beautiful. And this applies to nightmares as well. So the interesting dream I had last night, which, you see, that's the thing. I would also like to say that nightmares are dreams as well. And I don't even know why they're called nightmares. That kind of sounds like too formal, if that makes sense. I don't know. But basically, your nightmares are there to show you something as well. What I'm sensing is nightmares related to fear. This sounds almost like it's obvious because it's like, well, yeah, obviously I'm gonna relate fears to nightmares. Like, yeah, no shit. But what I'm saying is that those nightmares, like, pay attention to things you're afraid of in your dreams. Let's not call them nightmares. Like, for example, it could be you dreaming about, I don't know, a older man chasing you, and you think, oh, well, that's just like, a silly little dream of someone trying to harm me. When in reality, that dream could represent your fear of your father wound, for example. Or not just a fear, but rather that father wound. So pay attention to a bigger picture. Like, yeah, obviously we're gonna be scared in your nightmares, like, that's obvious. But what are those fears related to? It definitely could be something that's more on a psychological level. Like the thing I mentioned could be significant, healing your father wound. So I'd say that's what the Spirit is saying. Pay attention to those fears you have, and can you do anything with them? And also, just in general, pay attention to your dreams in this season of your life. So I just got interrupted multiple times, which again could be significant. But anyway, another thing I would like to mention that could be connected to dreams, and I will explain in a bit why, is this sense of rushing. It's like, again, you don't see a bigger picture and you're trying to just rush things. And I'm not saying that like you shouldn't start new things or like get out of your comfort zone or like talk to new people. No, but I'm talking about those things that are like out of your control. Like a specific example would be you wanting to be in a relationship. And I will talk about the dream I had last night, which again could be significant and could be related to this whole thing. So the dream was following this character that was waiting to be picked up. It was waiting for a car. Like they were waiting for a car. And as this car came, the character felt sort of like a relief, like finally. And then as they were walking towards the car, the car door opened and they saw something that they weren't expecting. And I don't believe it matters what the thing was. Let's just say that there was something happening inside of the car, that the character did not expect. And it shattered their illusion. But also, they were saved in a way. Because if that car door didn't open and they didn't see what was happening from far away, they would most definitely get into the car and experience the discomfort. So really, this is what this message is about. It's about shattering the illusion. And this is why I mentioned the whole concept of spirituality at the beginning. It's similar to that. It's like at the beginning, you start by collecting crystals and looking at a surface level things and love and light, which can be beautiful and is okay, because it's similar to like your point of view on this world. Like sometimes you do need to be a bit ignorant in a way. You know how they say ignorance is bliss? That could be significant. Sometimes you do need to be ignorant, because if you pay way too much attention to everything that's happening in this world, you will go insane, quite frankly. So it's okay that you're being a bit, let's call it, ignorant from time to time. I'm not saying that you always need to look at deeper things and like pay attention to the truth. Like sometimes you do need to be a bit delusional. However, it feels like in this season of your life that isn't necessarily working for you anymore. What I mean by this is that there's a lot of illusions shattering. A few examples could be you trying to run away from a fact that someone is not who you thought they were. Or maybe you thought that someone gained something with their hard work, when in reality they were being helped all along. And you thought that they were doing the thing on their own, that they gained their fame or success with their hard work, but in reality that isn't really the case. However, what's really interesting here is that isn't harmful, and it's similar to like the whole concept of like nepotism. You know how people were like so shocked when they found out that a famous person is actually famous because they are a child of a famous musician or an actor. However, this shouldn't scare you. That's the message. That's the main message. Like this shouldn't concern you or scare you, because again, just because someone got something with the use of their unfair advantage, that doesn't mean that that's gonna stop you from getting your own thing. Matter of fact, you might meet someone who will help you with something in the future, and people around you will look at that and be like, oh, that's unfair. But really, there isn't harm in that. It's not like you didn't work hard. It's just that you had some luck. So that, again, shouldn't scare you. It also feels like your energy is all over the place in a way, and you feel a lot of anger and resentment and also fear. Like fear could be really significant. So really the main question here is, okay, well, what do I do? So like I said, you probably feel a lot of like fear, and you experienced a lot of shattering of I don't even want to say of your illusions. I don't believe that your beliefs were an illusion, but I just believe that your point of view and your perspectives are changing and you're coming to terms with something. So again, the question is, okay, well, what do I do? Well, the answer is nothing. You don't have to do anything specific in this season of your life. Rather than go back to basics and try to remain calm and, do daily rituals like regulating your nervous system could be really helpful in this time and in this season. But other than that, you don't have to do anything. That's the thing. It's like fear creates an illusion that we need to be doing more and work harder and like immediately fix everything and like, do all these crazy things, when in reality, you just need to calm down and wait for fear to go away. So really the main message for today, I know I said this like 10 times, but the main message for today is, it feels like your illusions are shattering and everything's falling apart, when in reality, you're building a foundation that's so much stronger and more firm. So what feels like ending and shattering and chaos is actually preparing you for a much firmer ground and more stable ground. I'll give you this silly example, but think about it this way. So let's, for example, say that you're trying to turn on the television and you're constantly pressing this one button. And it's like you're trying so hard to turn it on, but it's just not working because you're pressing the wrong button. And finally, someone comes and is like, look, you just need to press this button instead. And you're like, wait, like this cannot be the truth. Like you cannot tell me that for so long I was like pressing the wrong button. Like, no, I thought this was the truth. But you know, that person didn't have any like harmful intentions. They were there to just like guide you back to yourself and the actual truth. So really what's happening here is that old, shaky, broken pedestals are being destroyed in order for new, stable, firm, more beautiful ones to be built. Okay, that's all I have for today. I still get like 0 views when I post these messages, but I hope that eventually me and my collective will be guided towards each other. But if you're listening to this, I really appreciate you and I'm so thankful that you are listening, and I hope that this message helped you. Bye.